Hello and welcome, it's Jenna from McGuire. I'm always looking for fun techniques that result in a smooth one-layer card, and today I use a couple techniques that do just that. One is rainbow stamping and the other is on the edge die cutting. Now be sure to stick around till the end of the video. I'm going to show you some other ways to do these techniques if you don't have these particular products or patience. So stick around for that. Now this card design is a little unique and that part of the card actually hangs off the top of the card, but yet it's still perfectly smooth. It's something fun to do with any coordinating dies and stamps. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I have some white cardstock here cut to 8.5 by 4 1/4. And I am drawing a line right down the center at 4 1/4 inches, so that's right down the center. And I'm going to go ahead and do several of these. I like to make several cards at once. This pencil line is actually where our card will score, but we're not going to score it till later because we first want to do some stamping and die cutting that will hang over that edge. Now for these techniques, I'm using the MISTI stamping tool. However, you do not need to use this tool. I will show you at the end of this video how to get the same effect if you do not have the MISTI stamping tool. I just happen to like this tool because it gives me great placement every time. And for the technique we're doing today, it is super helpful. I received one of these from the company a long time ago, one of the first models, and I've since bought several of them, including the new mini version, because I'm so happy with how this works. Since this is my business, it's nice to have a few of them on hand because I use them so often. But you could just get this one regular size MISTI and you're good to go for all your stamping needs. Now I'm going to be using this reverse confetti stamp set. I really like that kindness matters image in there. And I erased part of my pencil line where I'm going to do the stamping that you see here, but still some of the pencil line shows at the edges. I'm placing that butterfly right along that pencil line so it hangs above it some. And then I close the door on it and now that butterfly is perfectly positioned and I have my paper pushed up against the bottom left corner of the MISTI tool. I'm going to do lines of color, a rainbow of color. So I have a post-it note here that I'm putting on my stamp so that I can mask off part of the stamp and only ink the top part of the butterfly. I'm using a pink Ranger dye ink here, but you could use any ink for this. I like dye inks because we're going to overlap and do some blending. This stamp is kind of stained yellow from some stamping I did earlier. That's okay. There's only pink ink towards the top half of our butterfly. So that's all that stamp. So you can see the image there. Now, one of the advantages of using a stamp positioner like this is that you can double stamp if you want to make it darker or say you didn't stamp it well at first. This time I'm just going to put my mask on the paper itself and ink up the whole top of the butterfly and stamp it again. Because I'm using the stamp positioner, it's going to stamp in exactly the right place. Now you could do masking either on the stamp like I did at first, where I put the mask on the stamp and inked above it, or put the mask on the paper and stamp onto it. Whatever works better for you. If you don't have post-it notes, you could use pieces of temporary paper or temporary adhesive with scrap paper and do that instead. But I like the post-it notes because I can reuse them a few times and they're inexpensive. After cleaning off my stamp, it's time for the next stripe of color. This time I'm going to do orange. I put a post-it note on my paper. You could put it on the stamp if you want to, but I put a post-it note on my paper allowing some of that pink to show so I can overlap the two colors, and then another post-it note below it. So I have just a little strip of area showing that I can ink up and stamp with the orange. So I'm stamping my butterfly, or I'm inking my butterfly with this orange ink from Ranger, and I will list all the colors that I use below. I'm going to go ahead and close this on here, and we'll have our orange stripe added. And check it out, where these two colors overlapped, it looks like a third color. It looks like a red color. I did a technique kind of like this a few weeks ago, and I will link to it here so you can check out if you want to. Okay, so now I'm going to continue to do this down the card. So I've put another mask kind of covering most of the top of the image, but a little bit of the orange showing. And I'm going to ink up the rest of the stamp with a yellow ink and stamp that on top. Now I'm going to have a few butterflies below this. This is from the same reverse confetti stamp set. I'm going to arrange them exactly where I want them on the card and then close the door on the stamping tool, and that will position them just right. As I mentioned, at the end of this video, I'm going to show you a few ways to do this if you do not have a MISTI stamping tool. However, keep in mind these are clear stamps. You can stamp each of these stripes of color and every time stamp exactly in the same place by looking through the stamp and lining it up. Just make sure to get your head above the stamp. And usually you can stamp and line them up easily if you have a good solid image like this one with a nice defined outline edge. Okay, so I'm going to continue doing this. I did some green. Each time I overlap a little bit with whatever color was above. I'm going to move on and do like a turquoise color. I'll do a blue and I'll do a purple also. As I'm finishing this, I wanted to mention something. You'll notice that here my clear stamps are stained from these inks. Now that's the thing. With good quality clear stamps, they're going to stain with some inks. Pigment inks usually do not stain, and some dye inks don't. I know that the My Favorite Things new dye ink formulation doesn't stain too much, but a lot of dye inks do stain good quality clear stamps. It's just one of the negatives of clear stamps. However, it is a sign that you have a very good quality stamp. So just ignore the staining. It doesn't harm your stamp. You just want to use a good cleaner to clean it off as best as you can. And I like the Ultra Clean from Hero Arts. I find that really works well. Okay, so now I have all of my stamping done. It's time to do that partial die cutting on the edge technique to turn this into a card. So I have the coordinating die here. This is from Reverse Confetti, and it matches that large butterfly. I'm going to tape it right around that butterfly. Now we're going to do partial die cutting. What I'm going to do is line up the edge of that top cutting plate with that pencil line that we drew. This means that anything to the left of that line will cut. Anything under the plate will cut. Anything to the right of that line will not cut. So anything hanging out from the cutting plate will not cut. So we're just going to cut the top part of the butterfly. So I'm just lining that up with the edge of that top cutting plate. Run it through and you'll see that we just have the cut above that pencil line, which is exactly what we want. I use micropore tape here, by the way, because I find it doesn't tear my paper. So it's great tape to use for die cutting. Okay, so now I've erased my pencil line, and I'm just going to use the ledge in my trimmer to score where that pencil line was. So right at the 4.5 inch mark, I'm going to score right up to the cut butterfly and right after the cut butterfly. Now we can go ahead and fold this over and just kind of crease that line. So we have this butterfly like hanging off the top of the card with a 1-layer card. You could glue a die cut butterfly right at the top of the card, but I think this is fun how it kind of flips open like that and it gives a smooth look. And you could do this with any stamps and coordinating dies or even just a die itself. Okay, I decided I wanted to put some little doodads, some little like stems with leaves to kind of match the stems with leaves in that the large stamp. I'm doing it with a white pen. I did this on a couple of the cards, but to be honest with you, I am not good at drawing, so I didn't do it on the other two cards. It's just a fun option. I wanted to try to make those butterflies match the top one. So remember, you can always use your white gel pen to add little doodads to your stamped images or even fix any areas where you got ink where you shouldn't have. So at this point, I'm going to confess something. I love the look of splattered dots on background, but I have control issues. I have a hard time doing it myself. I love when other people do the technique, but I never like the results when I do it. So I kind of wanted to scatter some dots in the background, but I'm going to control the matters myself by using these tiny little dots from the Simon Says stamp set. However, you could use tiny little hearts or images from any stamp set you have. A lot of stamp sets have them, and it really adds a little pop of color to the background. Okay, now I promised I would show you a few different ways to do this inking technique. So one way is to use a good old-fashioned stamp positioner. This is an inexpensive tool that many people have from the wood-mounted stamping craze years ago. So you could just hold it onto your paper. That's a little stamp positioner there, the green piece that you see. And I am masking and inking up just the top part of this image. I put it right up into the corner of this stamp positioner. I got to move my paper. By the way, I'm doing this really quick. This is going to look quick and nasty, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how to do this. And I'm going to put the mount right in the corner of the stamp positioner and stamp down. Now every time I can go back to that same corner and it'll stamp in exactly the same place. This isn't really how the stamp positioner was intended to be used, but it works great. This is a great tool to have. If you don't have the money to invest in the MISTI stamping tool, this still is a great one. Now here, I inked the whole stamp up with yellow. I just wanted to show you that it lines back up by stamping right in that same corner. I didn't press well there in the center, but I wanted to give you the idea. Now, if you don't have a stamp positioner or any kind of stamping tool, here's another thing you can do. Take 2 wood-mounted stamps and create your own, or 2 acrylic blocks or anything, and you're going to create your own little corner that you can stamp into. So I have 2 wood-mounted stamps here. I'm just going to tape them together, and look at that. It looks just like that stamp positioner I showed you. And it happens to work just fine. Again, I'm going to do some quick stamping just to show to you that you can get stamping right in the exact same spot. I'm going to put the stamp right into the corner, right up against the edges of those wood-mounted stamps. Did it quickly in orange there, and now I'm going to go and ink the same stamp up with yellow and put it right in that corner again, and you'll see that it stamps in exactly the same spot, perfectly lined up. So get creative with what you have if you don't have some of the tools that you see in videos. Okay, one more tip for you. If you like the look of a bunch of different colors on stamped images, but you don't want to take the time to do the rainbow stamping technique I showed you today with all the masking, you can get ombre ink pads, which Hero Arts has some ombre ink pads, or I wanted to show you these. This is from Kaleidacolor. This is an older ink pad, and check it out. It has 5 different colors on there, and there are a few different color palettes that they have. I use that blue one that you see, the blue and green one, quite often. I love it. They even have empty ones that you can put your own reinkers on it, maybe rainbow inks, and you can have your own custom palette. Now what you do is you push this together when you're ready to use it and pull it apart when you're going to store it. And you just kind of ink right across, and you want to kind of cha-cha up and down so that it blends the colors together. And so I'm just kind of doing the top part of these stamps here. And I'm going to go ahead and close it onto my paper, and you'll see you get this blended look from the blues to the greens, and it's just beautiful. And this ink happens to stamp quite well. The Hero Arts ombre inks work great for this also. Now all I need to do now is take that same ink pad and I'm going to rotate it. So first time I stamped it that way, now I'm going to rotate it so that I have the green in the same area, and I'll just ink up the bottom part of my stamps, and I'll go ahead and close it again. And there we have some blended color. It's not the same as the rainbow stamping we did before, but you can see it took a lot less time. So these would be great for mass producing cards. So there you have it, some fun techniques for you for creating 1-layer cards, including rainbow stamping and also die cutting on an edge. Threw a lot of tips in there. Sorry, it's a little bit longer. If you are interested in the products, I link below in my YouTube description, or you can click up here on the top left to go over to my blog where I have a lot more information, including a giveaway. In the middle, I have 3 other videos you can check out. The first shows rainbow stamping with a border stamp to create a background, so be sure to check that out. In the middle is a partial die cutting technique, and the last one talks more about the Ranger inks I used today. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe if you want to see more, and I hope to see you soon.